All positive vibes. Alright, let's get it. Let's go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh no, it's got the banana and everything. Yes, sir. Got Apex.
I hated the way
For the Sunday.
I absolutely hated the way he played. And I'm like, this guy's scrub. He's like, he up tilts everywhere. He runs around just playing the game, super scrubby.
There's always like a few people who are like exceptional, who are like better than the rest.
Like, I remember almost crying that day.
You can argue about his skill, you can argue about his personality, you can argue about his
Coyotes!
One thing that you can't
Oh, is that X ending?
was his success.
Yo.
April 25th, 2020. 15 years since the development of Super Smash Flash began.
Hell yeah.
The largest Super Smash Flash 2 tournament of all time took place. Bowlers 3. 512 registered players.
Goddamn.
A prize pot of $500. This was it. That small 2014 grassroots community evolved all the way to this very tournament. Everyone who was anyone would be attending. In fact, 13 of the top 15 ranked players across the world would be in attendance. But there could only be one at the top. The game was being pushed to its absolute limits. Every intricacy, every small detail, anything they could do to be better than the rest. To these players, it was more than just a Flash game. Playing, grinding, practicing, all for this moment, to try and become the greatest of all time. But before all of that, we need to go back.
Hell
The year
yeah.
is 2006.
Oh.
The most recent Smash Bros. Game to release
My shit.
prior. And on August 21st of that year, a little Flash game by the name of Super Smash Flash was released by aspiring game developer Cloud9. A Super Smash Bros. Fan game created with the Adobe Flash engine. The game was fit with a familiar Smash Bros. Roster, with characters such as Mario, Link, and Pikachu. However, what stood out the most was the more unique characters, such as Mr. Incredible,
Incredible.
Naruto,
That's right.
and Sonic original character, Blade. The game was a hit. It
The
was the Flash
OG,
game to be played in computer labs across the world. The game found a lot of success on Flash game websites such as Newgrounds.
So the number one game that everybody would go play was Super
Mac!
Smash, the original one, number one.
Mac!
It was the closest thing anyone had to playing Smash Bros. On the PC. The game itself heavily resembled Super Smash Bros. Melee, in aspects from its menu design all the way to its in-game music. Ironically, though, the biggest difference was the competitive aspects of Super Smash Flash. To be quite frank, the original was not competitive. Partly due to the incredibly small size of the competitive scene back in 2006.
Is the audio good, folks? Make it share again.
Play of Super Smash Flash. It was more of a fun, casual proof of concept more than anything. And even though it hasn't aged the best, for a Flash game in 06, it was pretty good. And as one might have expected, with Cloud9's huge success that was Super Smash Flash, a new idea came to mind. Something we all know and love.
Yes, sir.
Super Smash Flash 2, the sequel to the original Super Smash Flash. Due to the success of Super Smash Flash, Cloud9 almost immediately began work on the sequel, having early development builds dated as early
The good old
as
days, man.
December 2007.
Thank you, Steven.
The goal was to improve on everything that made the original Super Smash Flash so fun. The first build was already a major improvement, having much higher quality sprites and adding the ability to do special moves, a feature that wasn't present in the original game.
Audio's a bit high.
The game still lacked some core mechanics such as shielding and
I'm raising it a little
It was
bit.
already much closer to traditional Smash Bros, albeit with far less content.
Alright, it's good. It should be
Only
good.
having 3 stages, 2 of which were test stages, and only having these 4 original fighters. So Cloud9 went to work, and 1 year later we received version 0.3. This build was really the first content update for the game, adding Sonic as a playable fighter and Final Destination as a brand new stage. And more importantly, for competitive play, this build introduced grabbing and shielding, two core mechanics for competitive play.
Indeed.
There were some noticeable issues, such as no dedicated grab button. So to perform a grab, you'd have to do an attack while shielding. These were some pretty massive changes to the game, and while it wasn't clear at the time, it was creating the foundations for a competitive game. Throughout the span of the next 3 years, from 2009 to 2011, the game would receive 4 major content updates, starting with version 0.4 in 2009. This update added Link as a new playable fighter, as well as 2 additional stages, being Dreamland and the fan favorite from Melee, Hyrule.
Oh yeah, Hyrule, bro.
Additionally, this
the
was
old
also
dark
the first
stage
build to add team battles in a 2 vs 2 format.
Oh yeah.
And then, 6 months later, in June of 2009, Update 0.5 would drop, adding 2 additional characters, Smash Flash veteran Naruto,
Indeed.
and newcomer to the series, Mega Man. This was also the first build
Not to be confused with Mega Man X.
UI, with the new sleek look combined with an actual in-game announcer.
Naruto! Mega Man!
1 year later, in June of 2010, version 0.6 would drop.
The boy!
This was one of the biggest builds yet, having a brand
He's
new
not wrong.
title screen, combined with new features such as a training mode and the ability to disable items. A new playable fighter was also added, being Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Sora was the most ambitious character yet, having a unique stance-like mechanic, swapping between lightning, ice, and fire magic, as well as a very unique glide mechanic similar to Meta Knight in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. In terms of content, this update was huge, adding a whopping 7 new stages from across the various Smash Flash universes. This included some soon-to-be fan favorites, such as Tower of Salvation.
Oh, the Towers, man.
The game's content was getting pretty respectable, and the roster fairly intriguing. We began to see Cloud9's approach to adding new characters to the Smash Flash games, adding characters such as Naruto and Sora, characters you wouldn't see in traditional Smash Bros. This is a common trend for Super Smash Flash.
Oh my god, the dojo!
Adding characters such as
oh my god, the old days.
And even Waluigi.
Hell yeah.
These interesting and unique characters were a major draw to the game. In fact, we can almost pinpoint the success of Super Smash Flash to the version 2011 0.7.
Yeah, this shit right here.
More improved title screen with the iconic logo, adding 5 new playable characters, being Goku, Ness, Peach, Tails, and Wario, as well as 1 secret unlockable fighter, being Black Mage. 0.7 was the first build that felt like the Super Smash Flash 2 we all know and love. It was around this time that on the McLeod Gaming forums, the Super Smash Bros. Community was beginning to grow. Players from across the world would discuss the game here, usually casually, but sometimes in a new way. Much like Smashboards around this time, this was a place that was used by some players to discuss the competitive elements of the game. We also began to see the first examples of competitive footage, with combo videos against computer players. And 7 months later, we saw what the game could truly be. At a large Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament, known as Genesis 2, in a faraway corner of the venue, a build of 0.7 was being played locally in a competitive format for the first time in the game's history.
I was not aware of that.
This was really
I've probably seen it years ago. Yeah.
Like this.
I do remember Mewtwo King and I think his name was Zex. They were playing 0.8.
This was
at
the
Apex.
dawn of competitive Smash Flash. This tournament and other footage from competitive players were the catalysts that would shape the very game itself. In fact, at this point, the developers took note of this competitive interest and would begin to make changes to promote that interest.
Over time, just through seeing these videos pop up and seeing that there was a possibility there for potential...
Oh, Zello!
I started having conversations
with
Cloud9, where I was like, hey, why don't we try this? Let's try bumping up the hit stun. Let's try bumping up the hit lag.
And with a little bit of luck, this renaissance of the Super Smash Flash 2 community was occurring at the same time as the resurrection of Super Smash Bros. Melee's competitive scene.
Your dad footage,
This was a major influence on the next few builds of Super Smash Flash, 0.8A and 0.9A. However, if the game wanted to reach its full potential, it would need to grow even more. But it had a sort of roadblock. Due to limited availability of players locally, the game didn't really have that competitive scene that Melee had. This was a challenge for the community, this sort of invisible force stopping the game from being great. and the developers got to work. And in 2014, they would break the barrier.
Woo! Oh, it's sick. Very sick
Super
fonts.
Smash Flash 2 version 0.9b.
The Attitude Era.
Just a run-of-the-mill Super Smash Flash update.
My shit!
New stages, and even a new UI. But in reality, this build was the most influential event in the game's entire history. The feature that changed Flash 2 forever.
Online mode, yep.
The launch of online definitely was significant. So many people downloaded the game that day.
9B being online was like the craziest
Soldier
thing
Sunday,
in the world.
bro.
I still am like baffled how they got
Oh.
it working.
What? You can play online.
Oh, Shadow of the Larry!
Everyone did that. Yeah, the players were not good.
Uncle
Like,
Sawyer.
we weren't entirely.
I'm sorry. It's fucking Lunari, dude.
Online
Y'all don't know.
opened the floodgates
Y'all new
of
kids don't
opportunity.
know.
Super Smash Flash
You won't
2
know.
finally had
In
its
this
chance.
documentary. These visuals are
What lied
fucking
beyond the
sick.
barrier for Flash 2 was the foundational pillars for a competitive scene. 3 developments to the game, only possible due to the newly added online mode. First was the growth of content. The game blew up massively in popularity. This was many
I know,
people's
bro,
first
this-
time ever
it's
hearing about
great,
Super
bro.
Smash Flash, hearing that it finally had an online mode. This drew in
You
a
didn't
lot
think
of
they would
new
go that
players,
far with the visuals,
specifically
bro,
a lot
but
of
they do.
YouTubers and streamers who started playing the game, such as HungryBox,
Right.
AlphaRad,
Okay, well, I just now made it.
and Etika,
Is Super Smash Flash 2. This game is
God vs. Soul Man,
who were
yes.
all in support of the
Oh,
game
yeah.
and increased its popularity. And it wasn't just big names. We began to see some Super Smash Flash 2 specific creators rise around this time, such as streamers like Soldier Sunday,
Right.
I am Zachary Jonathan Pinturf, also known as Soldier Sunday.
Back then, I watched a lot of Soldier Sunday. Shout out to him.
and Ninja
Yeah,
Lobster
man.
Studios.
Oh, yeah, Ninja
who were
Lobster.
innovating the competitive SSF2 content creation. Combine this with the all-time
I love
high
his
that was
Tats
competitive
videos,
Smash
man.
around this time, with the recent release of the Super Smash Bros. Melee documentary, as well as the release of Smash 4 coming out later this year, interest in competitive SSF2 was at an all-time high, and the player base grew massively. And with the new player base leads to the second pillar, the new community. The
Oh, yeah,
community changed a
Skype,
lot
yeah.
when 9B released.
Oh,
Due to the
Facebook
rapid
for
growth of the
sure,
community,
yes.
A lot of new group chats started forming. The
Mhm.
Super Smash Flash 2 subreddit, the Facebook group chats, and even Skype calls for players to group together and play matches with one another. The largest, of course, was still the McLeod Gaming forums.
Mhm.
However, it wasn't the best for setting up matches with other competitive players, since it was primarily used by the casual community. After all, it was still a Flash game. This led some forum users to try and make a
Oh, yeah, the
united
IRC.
competitive chat
Yeah, this shit right
outside of the
here.
McLeod Gaming forums.
It's basically our Starbucks.
The IRC.
Oh my
Internet
God.
Chat Room. This was the most
Oh my God, the
2014
fucking memories,
chat room experience
bro.
you could get. However, for a grassroots community like this, it was all we needed.
Skype was alright, but in the early days it was IRC that took off.
Oh shit, face reveal!
I heard about this chat called the IRC.
God damn!
It had like 20 people like that are like active there.
Unfortunately, most chat
I
logs
see you,
in the
Doc.
IRC were never archived. However, the chat room was serving as the most active community for setting up matches, essentially Discord before Discord ever existed.
Right.
And from 2014 to 2015, this was the place to be if you were a competitive player, and also
Habitual
to play in
Masters.
tournaments. This was the third pillar of competitive Smash Flash, tournaments. With all of these players in one place, online tournaments started to sprout up. Starting out, they
Oh, my boy Nair! Nair! They got you in there!
cash prize and varying rules.
Zero OR, my
changing
guy.
Stock counts. and
Let's
stage
go.
lists between each. However, the question still
Oh,
stood.
Remy.
Who was the best player? It was a fairly chaotic time, and while some names stood out at the start as better than others,
Yes.
no one particular player could be considered the best. It was an early period where anyone could beat everyone. There was no true
Coyotes.
best player.
Coyotes.
And with so many players competing, it was only a matter of time until someone would show up. Someone would take the throne. And 2 months after the game
Let's
came
get it.
out,
Hype it up.
someone showed up.
Ah! Demon.
But who
Oh,
was
let's go.
Kios? Well, he was a Zero Suit Samus player from the tri-state area.
Oh wait, I remember that
Coming
dance
from a
video that
background
he
playing Super
uploaded
Smash
before.
Bros. Brawl at a competitive level for many years, only trying out Super Smash Flash 2
Oh, I haven't
starting
seen
in
matches of
October
him.
of 2014.
I ain't seen any
In
Brawl
terms of
matches
the
though.
community though, he was a nobody.
combo
However,
video.
that would soon change. October 18th, Kios would enter Smash Island 6, the 6th installment of the most popular tournament series, Smash Island.
Alright.
With a total of 27 entrants, which at the time was a massive amount, Kios was seeded as 16th, which would match him against the #1 player in the tournament as his very first competitive match. And let's just say, it didn't go as expected.
Ooh. Oh. Let's go. That back air, it's always deadly, man. I think to this day it's still deadly. Trust me, like ZSS is a sick ass character. Bro. Back in 9B. And to this day too, yeah.
Defeating the #1 seed of the tournament, Kios did the impossible in his very first competitive match. An impressive feat by itself, but unfortunately, he was knocked into loser's bracket right after
Island spelled wrong.
Marvin, another contender for the
Don't worry
However,
about it.
in a double elimination tournament, Kios was sent to the
It's
loser's
a legend,
bracket,
bro.
meaning he could still qualify to win the tournament. And after defeating 5 different opponents in the loser's side, Kios clawed his way back to a solid second place finish, once again being defeated by Marvin. Second place at your very first tournament is an incredible feat.
So, Kios,
That's not bad.
Kios is actually how he pronounces it. He
Yeah,
kind of
it's
just
Kios.
started winning out of nowhere.
And 1 week later, the Super Smash Flash 2 subreddit hosted the largest tournament the game had ever seen. In attendance was Soldier Sunday and Marvin. And first up for Kios was the streamer Soldier Sunday.
I thought he was a decent to good player at the time.
Damn. Okay, going back and forth. Alright. Alright, it's 1-1. Nice up there. Woo!
Kios managed to not only defeat Soldier Sunday in his second match of the tournament, but he managed to make his way all the way to Grand Finals, where he faced Marvin once again.
Marvin. Oh, they did the turn on him! You told him to fuck off!
Defeating Marvin in Grand Finals 6-0 in the largest tournament ever. This win, only 1 week into his career, put Kios on top of the world. And he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. He would continue to win multiple other weekly tournaments throughout October, November, and December.
Woof!
In fact, he won 7 of his first 10 FCR tournaments, placing second at the remaining 3.
Fucking fire,
he was the
bro.
name of the competitive community, with
Damn
some
straight.
criticism from others.
I think Kios was definitely one of those players that you would
Always.
consider. He would be the definition of play to win. You may not like what he does, but at the end of the day, he's winning.
He was kind of the first player to get real good. During that time, he was basically unstoppable.
It was around this time that Zero Suit Samus
Oh,
began to
Zaporix,
fire
holy.
amongst community-made tier lists.
He kind of was
Damn.
the reason that people were saying Zero Suit Samus was the best in 9B.
But it wasn't just ZSS that rose in the ranks. Let's talk FCR, Flash
Nice.
Collective Ranking.
Yes.
This was a ranking system created using a database of Flash 2 tournaments. It was used to calculate a ranking of the best players in the world, and included its own class system that
Oh,
gives
Jay Weezy.
Peasants,
Oh, Zero
a
R.
title given to any player who entered an FCR tournament, regardless of their results.
Right.
Knights, players who place within the top 3 of at least one
It's
FCR
robotics.
tournament. Kings.
Ooh.
These were the few players who actually managed
Yeah,
to
there's
win
no
the
gorilla.
tournament. And lastly was a role only occupied by Kios. Gods. players who showed dominance over all others.
And well deserved.
This was the
Always
order
has
of
been.
Chaos, the new hierarchy of SSF2. And Kios, for 2014, ruled it all. December 27th, the last major tournament of the year.
Cold as a bitch.
In attendance was Kios, the favorite to win the whole event. However, this was no ordinary tournament. This
Rig
was
out the
debut
moon.
of a new competitor, a challenger to Kios' reign.
I ain't spoiling.
Lunary would enter his very first Super Smash Flash 2 tournament.
Oh!
My name is Ali.
Yeah!
My tag is Lunary.
I'm about to pop off!
So like back in
Oh my god!
I
feel like I'm gonna cry!
It was my secondary.
Lunary was the antithesis of Kios.
Holy shit!
Meta and Lloyd dual main from Belgium, coming from a
Hello,
background playing
Beast.
Super Smash Bros. Melee competitive.
Oh god.
And much like many of the greats, he found almost immediate success, outperforming his seated position by winning his first.
Oh, are you about to cry? Oh, his face reveal, bro. I mean, like, the build up, man. This shit takes me back so far, bro. You don't even know. You don't know how this feels, man. Oh, I love it. Lloyd going in hard, man. They're both going in hard. Oh, I got it with the back air. That build-up was crazy, man. Holy shit.
Kios defeated Lunary 2-1 in their very first set. However, Lunary, a nobody at the time, taking a game off of Kios was an impressive feat. In fact, he would finish third in the tournament overall, only having lost to the second and first place players. Not only did this tournament show off a new up-and-coming challenger being Lunary, but it was also one of the few tournaments Kios did not end up winning, taking second place against French Samus player Second.
Oh yeah, second or.
Second beat Chaos in set 1, and then like Chaos just rage quit it.
This was the first crash.
You know, he's not right. He's not wrong. He does do that
1 month later, at
sometimes.
Smash Island 9, the two players would meet in a rematch. But this time, things were a little more interesting.
Oh snap. Is that time pressure? Oh! Oh my! Ooh, we hate to see those. Alright, nice. Going with the side B. Yeah, they were pretty much like rivals for the longest time. It was pretty much a saga like no other. You'd have to be there to understand.
And with that, Lunary had defeated Kios. And with the momentum of
The Lloyd Point.
Kios, he managed to win the entire
Come on.
event through
Come on,
winner's
dog.
bracket, securing his first ever major tournament win. On the other hand,
nice.
Kios opted to drop out of the tournament in loser's side, shortly after his loss to Lunary. Lunary was in the spotlight of the community.
He just entered a tournament and got like I think top 3 right off the bat. And I remember just being like, who is this?
If we randomly would match up, I'd be
Whose
like,
man this
excited,
is?
but then also,
Oh,
like,
Sorbotics.
terrified.
This was the start of the rivalry between Kios and Lunary, meeting one another at every major tournament in the first quarter of 2015.
Yeah.
So like back then, like Chaos was my biggest rival by far. He was the only player who took like more than one set against me.
The two went back and forth trading sets. Kios bounced back by winning X2 over Lunary, but 1 month later, Lunary would defeat Kios at X3. And at the time, the record between the two was extremely close. But over time, this rivalry became more than just the game.
As far as Kios goes, in relation to Lunary, they didn't like each other at all.
The problem stemmed from like Kios would just get really mad and really salty when he lost. He would just try to discredit Lunary, and then the beef just grew from there.
I thought he was kind of a dick. At least to me, he was like a little toxic, and he was also like a sore loser. Like he was so salty whenever he lost.
There was a split in
Definitely not wrong.
whether you were a Kios fan or a Lunary fan.
At the peak of this rivalry in 2015, between Lunary and Kios neck and neck in sets, a crew battle was proposed to settle the beef
crew
once
battle.
and for all.
Like, we talk a lot of shit, like a lot of trash, like so much trash. And then like at some point we're like, you know what? Screw it. You have to settle this.
Oh man.
The US versus EU crew battle. The 8
Kyle
best
Golly
US
Jr.
players with Kios as their frontrunner versus the 8 best EU players with Lunary as their ace.
Oh shit, Nintendo 95. There you are. That's what's up. That was when he was actually competitive back in the day. When he actually gave a shit about being competitive. I'm just saying. Oh, Descendant Son! A fucking legend.
The crew battle was extraordinarily close.
What a
As
blue
the toss
sand
for
now.
both teams kept going down, eventually we had the match everyone was waiting for. Kios versus Lunary. This time, both players representing their whole region.
Oh. Okay. Getting that pressure. No, very up. Right off smash, nice.
Despite the odds, Lunary had done it,
Crazy.
defeating Kios for all of Europe.
Oh,
The crew battle
nice.
would continue on, eventually leading to an EU victory by
DK
3
battle.
stars. Europe as a region was stronger than ever, and their best player, Lunary, the best in the world. Whether by coincidence or not, after that crew battle, Lunary went on a rampage, winning almost every tournament he entered in April, May, and June. Not only defeating Kios in almost every set they played, but Lunary was beating everyone. In fact, he had a winning record against every player he played in FCR tournaments.
Woo!
On the other hand, Kios was being left behind, the gap between them
Come to the
increasing,
darkness.
and their set record less competitive than ever.
Holy shit.
July 2015. Lunary was the best player in the world, the second player to ever receive the classification of God of the Game. And throughout that summer, we saw Lunary enter less and less tournaments. The ones he did enter, though, he would win. However, for Lunary, being the best wasn't quite what he hoped.
The pressure of being the best is something like a lot of people don't realize, because at some point winning is just expected of you. Losing feels super bad, and winning doesn't feel as great because you're supposed to win. And then you have also people who just want you to lose because they're like so tired of you winning everything.
In August
That
of
goes for
2015,
everything. Just
he
winning.
announced his
Everything.
retirement from the game. Only 7 months into his career, Lunary was going to quit competitive Super Smash Flash. He listed a variety of reasons for why, but the primary reason
Community
was the focus of
toxicity.
competing in Super Smash Bros. Melee, a game he was deeply passionate
That's
about.
definitely the
I think
tough
that
road.
really
man.
was more important to me, so in 2015 I just said, yeah, I'm gonna retire.
This announcement was devastating to the community. Many
Oh
players,
shit!
including
Oh,
his
there's your boy!
brothers, were sad to see him go.
Ah.
However, Lunary announced he would enter one final tournament, Smash Island 15. It was the last chance for the community to take down Lunary, including for Kios.
Oh no, yeah. This guy's ass beat. Ah, my boy.
Pretty grim for Kyle's right now. Is it real? That's it. It's done. It's over. Lunary 3-0 over Kyle's.
I said nothing there. And
I could
it was
understand how
for the
Kios would
respect.
feel. He didn't even get to beat his rival the last time they played, so
He's being
it
respectful
kind of
for
just
that.
it was a little bit of the end of an
Man.
era.
And with Lunary's final victory
Crazy.
over Kios, winning Smash Island 15, the community was left to pick up the scraps, and Kios reclaimed the vacant #1 spot. It was still unargued, though, that Lunary was the best player of 2015. The
Gax!
6 months after Lunary's retirement, the SSF2 community had changed quite a bit in the post-Lunary era, with two major differences that would begin to shape up the next year of competition. In 2016, IRC was a thing of the past, being replaced by 3 new equally important groups. First was the McLeod Gaming Slack chat. For veteran players as well as developers of the game. The second new chat room was Flash Nation, the very first Super Smash Flash 2 Discord server. And lastly was Anther's Ladder, a ranked ladder website for competitive Smash Flash. And with these two chat rooms, a lot of new players entered the competitive scene. In fact, we saw a massive growth in terms of player base, roughly doubling in size in terms of entrants and tournaments. The Flash Nation Discord was a fairly new thing in 2016, so it wasn't the biggest source of new players. That would be Anther's Ladder. Anther's Ladder at the time was a website that had a ranked ladder for Super Smash Bros. Melee and Smash 4 players. And in late 2015, they announced they'd be adding Super Smash Flash 2 to Anther's Ladder.
That was great.
And while the Slack and Discord were fairly big, Anther's Ladder was
I was number 1 on there.
There's so many players that were just like
oh shit, Corvin,
and getting their first taste of like competitive.
That's a name I haven't seen in a long time.
Anthers introduced a plethora of new competitive players,
Hard Knock
all
Days,
of which were grinding and practicing
Special
all the time
X,
for a higher rank on the ladder.
Arctic over here.
This was the defining trait of this time period.
We made it. Look at this.
Oh my!
It's where all the players started, all the old players would go to find new opponents, and we're even
let's go!
Help. And while having all these new players,
goddamn, I did not expect to see that. Holy shit!
Always, no matter what, behind screen, nobody could reprimand us for what was said and what we could do.
Let's go!
Everyone would shoot
fucking classic.
Like, how good you actually are.
The idea of common, basic human decency did not exist.
Okay, who's the best player? Who's the
oh
best
man,
I'm better than you. I'm better than you. That sort of thing.
In terms of the community, this was the era of trash talk in Anther's Ladder. But it wasn't just the community that changed.
I can't get over that.
Character choices. Although Super Smash Bros. Had many different
that caught me off guard. My own video.
9B has one of the most interesting developments. Much like Super Smash Bros. Melee, 9B had a fairly asymmetrical balance, with top tiers being miles ahead of the low tiers. And even though that was the case, and with little to no balance changes over a course of 3 years,
God damn!
Drastic changes in character placements over the years. Many community-made tier lists in 2015 ranked Meta Knight, Lloyd, Marth, and Zero Suit Samus as the strongest in the game.
Right.
But starting in 2016, we saw some new characters start to win tournaments. Previously underdeveloped characters such as Black Mage, Kirby, and even Sora began to perform well in tournaments. We even saw Kios around this time experiment with new character choices such as Peach, considered a low tier at the time. The meta was evolving, but there was one other character that was the star of this renaissance, all led by one player.
Yes, sir!
Gax. In 2016, we saw a lot of new players, but this one in particular stood out amongst the rest. His main being Fox, arguably one of the fastest and most technically demanding characters in the entire game. For many years now,
and it's
Smash Fox has been theorized as a potential top tier, having similar top tier
oh wait, oh that's Ninja Lobster's Taz video.
Speed, insane kill power, and flashy tech skill. Up until this point, no one had truly shown off
that's what I'm saying, Beast.
Could truly be. However, in 2016, we saw a surge of new Fox players join the game. Out of all the new characters in the Anthers meta, Fox was the most prominent. Partly due to the increase in Melee players trying Smash Flash 2 for the first time on Anthers. One such Fox player, being Gax, would show us what the character could truly do. The year was 20X.
Oh shit! You have the F standing for Flash. You have 20FX. 20FX.
He has this very Melee-esque to him that you kind of just get frustrated and you wonder why.
I ain't fucking around, man.
Gax was really hyped to watch back in the day.
20FX, man.
Moved,
when people thought of movement, they thought of him.
Gax played a
yeah, I was there, man. Trust me, I was there. I mean, every word, man. Every word.
He absolutely destroyed me, bro. Like, 4-star. It's not even close.
There was a short period of time called the Gax era.
Gax, as well as this new generation of Fox mains, began to perform increasingly well, starting from winning small weekly tournaments with the character.
Ooh.
all the way to winning monthly majors.
Ah, it's a fun Joe. I got Marvin again. Woo!
The meta was Fox.
Trust me, like, once you play 9B Fox, right? Like, when you give it a try, this shit's hella fun. Even if you're not, like, the most technical, it's fun as fuck. Like, better than beta, in my opinion, yeah.
By mid-2016, Gax had risen the ranks, reaching the #1 spot on the FCR, the only player in the game to be ranked as a god of the game, with even Kios being ranked alone. Although, this era of Gax was quite interesting, because sure, he had won many tournaments, but he wasn't unbeatable. He would still drop tournament sets to other high-level players throughout 2016, and despite being the best player on the FCR, he actually had a losing record against many of the high-level players, who just simply didn't enter as often. Gax was #1, but he was on shaky ground. If he wanted to cement himself as the best in the community, he would need to prove it at one last major. Online Evo.
Oh my
the largest tournament of the summer.
Y'all don't know about Online Evo. Online Evo? It's the real shit, man. Oh my god. I can go on for days talking about this shit. Dude, Online Evo, man. Y'all don't know. Like, it's one of the best tournaments of all time, man. I was there, man. I was there. I was in the brackets.
And after Gax destroyed his side of the bracket, he awaited Kios in Winners Finals. However, Kios was defeated by up-and-coming Kirby player T-Lord. Instead of seeing Kios versus Gax, we had a Gax versus T-Lord Finals, in which Gax would opt to play his secondaries.
Oh. Missed so many fans, damn straight she did. But it's okay, though.
Gax was the winner of Online Evo.
Yeah.
This was a massive win for Gax, and although it did solidify him as #1, it did come with some questioning from the community, as Gax still had yet to defeat Kios in an FCR tournament. Regardless, for the 3rd year in a row, a new player had shown up, taken the scene by storm, and become the best in the world.
Mm.
2017, perhaps the most famous year in Super Smash Bros. 2 history, for good and bad reasons. As far as years go, 2014 was the rise of Kios, 2015, the era of Lunary, and 2016 had just wrapped up as the year of 20XX, with all these new school Fox players. So naturally, what kind of year was 2017? Oh boy. 2017 was the craziest year in Super Smash Bros. 2 history. For starters, going into 2017, Gax was still the best player in the world. However, Gax, Kios, and many of these other top-level players would actually take a break from the game at the end of 2016. And while there were still some tournaments, they were far less frequent and smaller in attendance. And the reason all of these players took a break from the game at the same time was for one reason.
We always had this idea in the back of our head that 1.0 would be the full game. And so it just became larger and larger and larger over time.
We were expecting beta for, God, like 2 years at this point.
Dude, beta was probably the most anticipating thing that you have ever seen.
Every year
no
we were
joke.
going to these tournaments and doing reveals at the tournaments, and the longer that beta was taking to come out, the more things we'd have to reveal. So we were like scope creeping.
It was like 9B players in general, we're just always looking forward to beta. Like, hype for beta was already at an all-time high because of that.
You know, it was a lot of pressure. And, you know,
the leaks, there it is.
Impatient,
the leaks,
So to have that hard work revealed before we wanted it to be, it was just devastating, honestly. Like, I remember almost crying that day. We just were like, that's it. We gotta release it. That's the only way we can stop.
Yep. What the? My old video!
It's out.
Oh my god!
And beta was a very drastic
That wasn't even specifically for action! That's for
Beta was
Pokemon!
like- it's SSF3 without saying that it's SSF3.
We got so much for making this cloud gaming.
It's the worst though! It's the worst though!
Waiting for, like, it's pretty crazy. New people coming in every week. It's over everything.
Oh, so that's Little Nate, okay!
Come and go, like.
Alright, okay.
Super Smash Flash 2 Beta, the largest content update the game would ever receive. The
Man.
surprise drop in May of 2017, while not in 100% polished state, would change the community forever. Beta was a game changer. Literally, it changed the game fundamentally. New characters, a complete overhaul of mechanics, and more content jammed into one fan game than ever seen before. And just like when 9B released, it wasn't just the game that changed. This changed everything for competitive Smash Flash. The game's community exploded with new players. Tons of new Discord servers started popping up, plenty of new tournament series with entrant counts nearing the triple digits, and more players playing the game online than ever before.
Old
Beta
lobby.
was a
Old
breath
beta
of fresh
lobby.
air. The community was now more alive than ever. As one could imagine, the game played significantly different than 9B. The jump between the two was comparable to, say, Smash 4 and Ultimate, with some similarities, but also major differences.
Right.
And while the game was certainly not
Yep,
perfect
yep.
at launch, with plenty of bugs on release,
Whew.
it was still a competitive experience that drew in players from all over the FGC.
Yeah, once again,
One
like,
such player was River DB, a Dutch Smash 4 player who joined SSF2 after hearing about the launch of Beta. But more on him later.
Yes.
With all these new players,
We'll
and a brand new
definitely get
scene,
to that.
2017 was the year of Beta. Specifically though, in the context of the competitive scene, the year of Beta was considered by many the jankiest time in the game's history.
Yes, it
After
was.
all, Beta was surprise dropped mid-year in 2017. So for the first half of the year, all these 9B results were basically nullified with its release.
Right.
And while some of these 9B players could make the transition into Beta successfully, such as Gax and Kios, other players would struggle to get the same results they had in 9B. The competitive scene was completely different. All except one thing. Gax. The 9B veteran would almost immediately bounce back to the top.
Gax was the player that could transfer his skills over to Beta. Not very many other players could do that.
In fact, Gax would win all 3 of his first major tournaments in Beta's lifespan. Universe Classic 3.
Right.
Bowlers 1.
Wow, that up B actually gonna get him.
And Smash Island Beta 1.
Back here, up here.
Damn.
Even after taking a break while waiting for Beta to release, he was able to immediately jump back into competition and become the best player. And not shockingly, Fox rose dramatically in community-made tier lists with Beta's release, placing himself as second best in the game. When it came to Gax and Fox, the character and player were so intertwined that they were simultaneously being the best at their respective ranks. So one has to wonder, is this year of 2017 just another year of Gax? Well,
not quite yet.
While Gax was the best,
I'll go
early
King
Beta
Pawn.
was still competitive. In specific, we saw the rise of 2 other players that could rival Gax. First was again River DB, this new Dutch Isaac player who was one of the only players who could defeat Gax in tournament, which was especially impressive because he hadn't even played 9B competitively.
Right.
As for the other player that rose around this period, his tag was Flavian. And let's just say, quote-unquote Flavian was not your average SSF2 competitor. In 2017, we saw the rise of another Fox player, Flavian. Flavian was notorious throughout the community. Because you see, quote-unquote Flavian was actually a secret alt account for an old-school 9B player, Monty. This Monty was a fairly controversial figure. But why was he playing under a secret account? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Lots of controversial opinions from community members.
It is a
But
saga
there's
that
one reason at the end of the day.
it's so much of a saga. It's
Well,
not
he
even
was
funny.
banned permanently twice. Yep, Monty
That's
was
confusing.
permanently banned from the game twice. Quite the feat. And while he was permanently banned from the community, he was secretly playing as a top 3 competitor. In fact, Flavian was just the newest in a long line of alt accounts he'd been using for years, swapping to a new one whenever one was discovered. In total, he'd been sourced to well over 20 different players in the game's competitive history, with dozens of other unconfirmed accounts.
Oh god.
Anyone and everyone could be a Monty alt. Much like a comic book supervillain, no matter how many times he was kicked or banned, a few months later, he would return. My personal
Ain't a
favorite of
joke.
these Monty alt accounts is Etnom, which is just simply Monty spelled backwards. Now, you might be wondering, why was he doing this in the first place? What got him banned? While there are a variety of reasons for his ban,
It's a
one of
saga.
the biggest ones is being involved in a major leak of beta files.
Yep.
I basically had thought that the permanent ban was some bullshit.
The first time that I was introduced to the idea or person that Monty was, the whole Monty side thing.
Or just creating a whole like Japanese SSF2
Insane.
community based on his alts.
It turns out the whole thing
What?
is fake.
It kind of, became a cycle where every single time I kind of wanted a fresh start, get banned, make a new account, fresh start, all that.
In fact, the Monty lore in the community runs pretty deep, with many good
What an
things in the
iceberg,
community in recent years, but plenty of
Oh, yeah, the
controversies
Monty-
from
Monte
back as a
Cristo.
teenager in 9B. And there were so many Monty moments throughout the game's history that I couldn't even possibly begin to go into them here.
Oh, yeah.
So, to summarize, Monty was a permanently banned
Sheesh.
player due to controversial actions when he was younger, and now in beta under a new account was a top 3 player.
I could, at the very least, have a chance to compete, because that's what I wanted to do at the end of the day.
Flavian started turning his reputation around.
I guess he has a lot of controversy, but he also has done a lot
Sure.
of stuff for
Mhm.
the community, and he's just always trying to look to improve the scene.
Monty's a
In
wild
modern
card.
day SSF2, the majority of the community has forgiven his past actions, and his permanent ban was lifted. However, at the time, with having this triangle
Crazy.
of players, with the best 9B Fox Gax, a new Isaac player from Smash 4, River, and the mysterious mastermind that was Monty, it was a very wild time. All 3 of these players were winning major tournaments throughout 2017. Unfortunately though, things were going to take a turn for the worse. The whole community was expecting one of these 3 players to rise above the other 2 and become the best of the year. So who do you think did it? Well, sadly, the answer is none of them. During the peak of this 3-way rivalry, Gax would make a surprise announcement. Much like Lunary did back in 2015, Gax was going to retire from the game, instead to focus on his upcoming studies in college. But unlike Lunary, Gax would actually lose some of his final major tournaments to Kios, who now plays Pac-Man, and in his final tournament he lost to Monty. So while he did retire as the technical rank number 1, it was disputed by others. This hurt the community, but what hurt more was what followed. After Gax left, Monty would also take a break from the game. Not a full-on retirement, but he entered way less frequently ever since Gax's departure. And as for River, you guessed it, he would also take a break from the game, only entering a few tournaments in the future when updates came out, instead to focus on his career in Smash 4 and eventually in Ultimate.
Right.
And also, unfortunately, in June of 2020, we would receive word that River had passed away only in his early 20s. And that day, the Super Smash Bros. 2 community, and Smash as a whole, lost one of the most wholesome and beloved legends of the game. So, fall 2017 was a pretty sad time. Many of the greats, potential players to be crowned the best of the year, all dropped the game at once. And with the number 1 spot unclaimed for the first time since 2014, we would see a lot of new players strive for the spot. In fact, in 2017, we saw over 20 different players win FCR tournaments, the most of any year by far. With Gax's departure, the game was thrown back into chaos. There was, though, one last opportunity. Bowlers 2. In December of 2017, Bowlers 2 was the first ever tournament to reach over 100 entrants, and one of the few tournaments to have a cash prize for the winner. This drew in players from all over the scene, and for some of them, it was a chance to make their case for the best in the world. At least, they would have had a chance if it wasn't for Kios.
Oh, Pac-Man. Oh, the key glitch, yep.
Beta was no stranger to game-breaking bugs.
Oh
Most
my
of them
God.
were banned in tournaments, and others were patched out of the game. But sometimes, when a player discovers a glitch, they keep it secret, hidden away, just for the right moment.
What happened? How did you do this?
my god.
The key glitch. This was
Oh,
Keos'
Lord.
secret weapon,
Key
bringing it out
jacket.
for the first time on the big stage.
Keos had just lost to someone, or like something happened, and then he like privately messaged me. He was like, "Yo, I found this crazy glitch." I was like, "What now?"
Oh man.
Man had the key inside of his Pac-Man.
That's so broken. Like that is ridiculous. Like that is not okay. Like
The key glitch was simple, yet so complex. By fully charging up Pac-Man's neutral special, you could obtain the key, the strongest Pac-Man projectile.
Right.
Then, by performing a precise setup using the trampoline, you could physically attach the key as an active hitbox onto your body. This was game-breaking. He was essentially a walking hitbox. If you hit Pac-Man, you get hit. If you ran into him, you get hit.
Yep.
And best of all, it turned your hydrant into a cannonball you could launch at will. Quite frankly, it was broken. And unsurprisingly, this is probably the most controversial event in the game's history. And with Keos being a divisive player at this time, pulling this out at Bowlers 2 got him a lot of flack from the community.
I don't like Keos. Keos is like, I don't respect that man at all.
He has to be the most carried beta player I've ever seen in my entire life, bro. He was making up glitches with Pac-Man like every single day, bro. Like
He's not wrong.
Glitch, Keos was able
It's
to
insane.
easily push his way through the bracket, all the way to grand finals. And since Keos was already a top-ranked player in beta, if he could get a win here at Bowlers 2, he could become the best player in the world.
Oh.
All that stood in his way was the 4th seed of the tournament, a Donkey Kong player named Nos.
Fucking Nas, bro.
So, Keos, haven't seen this Pac-Man in a while. Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh shit!
Pac-Man. What can he do? He just faces that wall.
Unless it's Nas fault, bro.
But he's winning now. You missed
Unreal. He's mostly he's a notorious goat. I'd say notorious goat.
What the?
Or I say like underdog goat. Yeah. I mean that too. He's a goat man. You don't fuck around. You don't. Oh shit.
Okay.
Oh, bro, there's the secondaries. Oh.
Somehow, someway, even with the key glitch, Keos lost Bowlers 2.
Just to lose to Nos.
you have an active hitbox on you the whole time. Tell me how he didn't even win the tournament.
After this win, Nos became a legend in the community.
Nice.
He was already a well-known player, but
Yes.
stopping Keos from taking Bowlers 2 was perhaps one of the most iconic moments in the game's history. After the tournament, the key glitch was banned from future events and eventually patched out by the developers. And now with Bowlers 2 over and 2017 wrapping up, the question of who was the best was left unanswered.
Disputed.
For the first time in the game's history.
Okay.
After 2017 had wrapped up, the competitive scene was in a weird place. It was the only year that out of the top 6 ranked players, no one in particular was the best of them all. And with the top 3 all taking a break from competing, it definitely opened the floodgates for a new hierarchy. And after the dust had settled from the chaos that was 2017, 3 new players would start to rise above the rest, slowly getting better and better placements, eventually even winning major tournaments.
Oh, there it is!
These were the new top
Yeah,
players
Chaos Zero,
that began to define 2018.
Prolific.
Chaos Zero, Prolific,
Yep.
and MK Zaire.
Zaire, yep.
These were the 3 players who would all rise to the top ranks in 2018. All 3 of them had been high-level players throughout 2016 and 17, and with the old guard of top players leaving, it was their time to shine. So who exactly was the
So I
big
believe
3?
from
First
this time
up
right
was the
here,
Canadian player,
with
Chaos
like Chaos Zero,
Chaos is a veteran
then
player all the way
Zaire,
back from
then
19,
Prolific, and
starting competitive
Zaire and Prolific, they
Lunar
definitely go back and
with
forth.
his mains,
Sure.
Tails and Lloyd. And with the recent balance patch 1.0.3.2, we saw some big buffs to Tails as a character, and he actually rose up to the #1 spot on tier lists. So as you can imagine, the best Tails player with the new best character was a major threat in tournaments. The next player to rise up to the top 3 was the best US player, Prolific. After Nos's outstanding performance with Donkey Kong, showing the entire community what the character could do,
Right.
Prolific was the first one to truly bring out the full potential. In fact, Prolific was going on a tear in early 2018, winning sets over Kios, Monty, and even Nos in the Ditto. And lastly, in the Big Three was MK Zaire. Zaire was the other Canadian player in the Big Three. Much like his name would imply, his main was Meta Knight, but he also began to play Marth as a secondary in 2018. As for Zaire as a player, he was one of the few people in the community who could actually compete with Chaos and Prolific, and after winning some major tournaments against the two, he earned his spot amongst the top three. All three of the Big Three had won major tournaments over one another and the entire community as a whole. These were the three players that defined the 2018 competitive scene. In the battle of the Big Three, all three of the players would quickly reach the rank of God of the Game on the FCR, and we began to see a clash between at least two of the Big Three in almost every tournament. Chaos Zero would dominate tournaments with the newly buffed Tails, Zaire would show the entire community what his new secondary Marth could really do, and Prolific would win multiple tournaments in a row, creating small winning streaks. And the three of them made a unique triangle with one another. In fact, at the time, in total set counts, Zaire had a winning record against Prolific, Prolific had a winning record against Chaos, and Chaos actually had a winning record against Zaire.
They kind of have like that triangle, just trying to one-up each other,
Keegan.
I think.
This was the golden era of competition. Each tournament was more exciting than the last. Everyone in the community wanted to know which of the Big Three would come out on top. And while they were all winning, we began to see one of them take a lead.
I just kept seeing the same names all the time. Prolific. I'm like, what the hell? With DK?
Me and Chaos are basically the only players that like can beat him consistently. And like once Prolific gets momentum, it's over.
Pro? I hate Pro, dude.
If you're playing Prolific, you're probably going to end up in a combo video.
Please include this in the documentary. He still owes me $100.
Prolific took a lead in tournament wins, winning Universe Classic 8,
I remember seeing it on the
Universe
forums.
Classic 10,
Well,
and
on
Universe
Discord,
Classic
yeah.
14. I mean, straight up, Universe Classic was the monthly tournament series that everyone was entering, and Prolific was the player who was winning almost all of them. In fact, he even has a combo named after it, the UC
Oh,
winner.
right, UC winner.
UC winner. Oh, there's a UC winner.
However, at the time, to call Prolific the undisputed best of the year wasn't quite possible. At least, not yet. Much like every past year, there was another major tournament, a milestone for the game's competition. This was the tournament at the end of the summer to determine the best of the year. And Exodus 2 was massive, being the first tournament to dethrone Bowlers 2, with the largest prize pot yet of over $100 and well over 100 entrants. The tournament had tons of big names in attendance, and almost everybody in the FCR was entering. Players like Nos, Kios, and even Monty would enter, as well as, of course, all three of the Big Three. On the big stage, this was the time to settle it once and for all. Out of the Big Three, who was the best? The first clash of the gods was Prolific versus Zaire in winner's semis.
Oh shit, he got him in the combo again. Oh yeah, Giant Punch in previous demos was hella strong. Like, it's still strong, right? But, like, it's pretty fast. Okay. Alright, let's go. Oh shit.
Prolific advanced to winner's finals to face his other rival, Chaos Zero.
Those tail combos, they're fucking nightmare, man.
Prolific had beaten both Chaos and Zaire, but Zaire would have one final chance in Grand Final.
DK's fair back then, like, that shit's a saving grace. Like both forward and the reverse hitbox. Ooh.
And with the final standings of Exodus 2, Prolific had shown the world who the leader of the Big Three truly was.
But after Gax retired, after Gax left, it was all prolific.
Like after Lunary, he was really starting to become like one of the most dominant players that you've ever seen.
Prolific at the time was on another level, and was the best player of 2018.
2018 summer, very easily one of the best times of SS2 all time. Every good player was entering, and there was just like constant like. It was a very active era in 2018 summer, especially. But then 2019 came.
2019, the dead year for competitive. For some reason,
you're not wrong.
throughout the game's history, whenever competition
He's
was
not
at
wrong.
its best, it wasn't long until something devastating would occur. And after the golden age that was 2018, 2019 would be a major setback.
Yeah, a lot of people do agree that 2019 was kind of the break year.
One of the most annoying patches yet, because it really encouraged a lot of very annoying play to the point where people just got frustrated and just lost interest into the game as a whole.
I loved 1.1, but I also think 1.1 is one of the worst patches.
We were kind of worried for a game because we had FCR events coming up. They were getting 5 entrants, ended up being canceled because no check-ins.
In a time where top players weren't playing.
Deadest of dead zones, the only players that would enter. Like, I was considered a threat back then.
Yeah, late 2019. It really felt like the game was dead. I really felt like it.
In 2019, the game was dying. More and more players were leaving the scene.
Oh,
Tournaments
shitty.
were getting smaller and smaller, and the scene was struggling to stay alive. Even the big three, the lead figures now in the competitive scene, would all practically vanish in 2019. Now, why was the scene dying? Well, there's two major reasons. Update 1.1 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. First was Update 1.1. This was the first major update to the game since beta's launch, and on paper, it should have been great, adding a new playable fighter being Pichu, and removing port priority, one of the community's most hated features. However, little did the devs know, 1.1 would be the most divisive patch in the game's history, mostly due to the negative impact on the game's meta.
See, the meta was basically Marth. Even though Marth wasn't the best character, it was basically Marth, because
like Marth especially, there were a lot of Marths. Almost all the tournaments I played in, there was a Marth in it. Like Marth in top 8.
Like, I remember there was a period in time where literally every single fucking person played Marth.
Much like Fox had done in 2016, Marth had become the dominant force in the meta, as the most played character in tournaments during this year.
Oh man.
However, many of these old school players didn't like the 1.1 meta, including MK Zaire, the best Marth player in 2018. And in combination with this controversial meta is the second reason, Smash Bros. Ultimate. The release of Ultimate was detrimental to Flash 2's competitive scene. Many of the veteran players would migrate to the newer game, and all the new players who were coming to Flash 2 started being redirected to Smash Bros. Ultimate. But the community wasn't dead yet.
Right.
Some players would choose to continue pursuing competitive Flash
Rico.
2, despite the odds. And because of that, those who did stick with the game got significantly better throughout 2019.
Some would call it a low, but also it was a lot of rebuilding in the community. While everybody was away, you know, this like second tier of players had kind of developed enough to contest the quote unquote first tier of players.
And although most of these tournaments were getting smaller and smaller, there were still a few big tournaments that managed to pull large player bases. And those few tournaments did have new competition.
Ooh.
We saw all of these second tier players from 2018 start to rise up, as if this was a training ground for the community.
Little Kizu
I feel
over
like
there.
He's like a new gen, like top level player. Yeah, around 1.1, like him, RC, and Ace. I feel like that's when they rose to like the top level. Like
the overall skill level of the game was increasing, with all sorts of new players joining the game during this time, who over the course of 2019 would become better and better. One such player was the best Marth player, who was leading this new Marth movement, Ace 2020. And while there were many different names who were arguably the best of the year,
this was actually the patch I consider myself the best. The rankings actually robbed me.
And out of these top players, the one with the highest ranking on the FCR would be Ace 2020, the leader of this Marth revolution, and the best ranked player in 2019. This dark age for the game was a weird time. But we did have one thing going for us, this new batch of highly skilled players, all training away in the mountains. So if the big three ever would return, they'd have a challenge. And eventually, that day would come. If 2019 was almost the death of the community, then 2020 was the complete and utter revival.
That was definitely the revival of SSF2. That was definitely the turning point.
1.2 was one of the best things to happen to the community, straight up. It brought a lot of players back, revived the community, brought new characters, brought hype.
In February of 2020, Update 1.2 would release. This update was massive, essentially saving the game's competitive scene. The patch added 6 brand new characters and plenty more content to bring back all those players that left during 2019. This patch would also fix some of those issues the old players had with 1.1, such as some fairly big nerfs to characters like Marth. This update had saved the community. Almost everybody who had quit was coming back to the game, and the tournament scene was growing almost immediately with 1.2's release. Even large content creators were giving Flash 2 another shot. And with the game finally being back in the spotlight, it was the perfect time for another tournament. Something to reignite that competitive flame.
Oh, Bowler's free?
Like, now was the perfect time for an extremely large tournament to have the biggest tournament of all time, and that's exactly what Bowlers 3 was.
And yeah, huge money prize fund, and everyone entered. Almost everyone could enter.
It is definitely the most iconic tournament of SSF2 history.
Bringing us all the way back to the start. The $500 tournament with well over 500 registered players, Bowlers 3. This was the tournament that everyone was attending. In fact, it brought players from all over the scene, old 9V players who had retired, players from different regions from all over the world, this new generation of players from 2019.
By the way, I didn't. I didn't attend Bowlers 3. I didn't feel like it.
And after that training arc of 2019,
even if people were telling me to enter, I didn't feel like it.
In winner side of the bracket, all 3 of the big 3 were matched up against new gen players early on.
It was nice to watch though. Alright, there, Vash.
The best Falco of 2019, Vash, had defeated MK Zaire. But it wasn't just him. All 3 of the big 3 were defeated by new gen players. And simultaneously were sent to the lower bracket. It all but seemed that this new generation had surpassed the big 3. And shortly after being sent to the loser's side, Chaos and Zaire would be eliminated from the tournament, leaving Prolific as the only remaining player in the big 3. But the odds were stacked against him. For Prolific to win the tournament,
Prolific's run.
a long line of high-skilled players in his way.
How the fuck does he do it? I don't know.
Oh yeah! He brought it back! UC winner!
Yeah. It's crazy.
Trying to push this lead into his favor. No.
Oh jeez!
That fair, man.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, the Simon Ditto. Oh man.
He does what Prolific does. He just starts styling on everyone.
On somebody's shield, for example. And Prolific getting the
man.
He's up.
Prolific got his revenge on Ace in loser semis. And next up was RC, the best Pikachu in the entire game.
Indeed. Whew. Rod the Simon.
There we go.
Oh.
I don't even think Prolific likes Dreamland that much, but I think he knows.
I definitely remember seeing this one on stream.
Oh my god.
Prolific was down 3 stocks to 1. Game 5, losers finals.
That fair. I'm telling you, man, the fair was the savior. Look, 200%, bro.
Even with all these differences. Up throw.
Fair. Up
there.
Oh, he's dead.
That's the game.
He brought it back.
Oh my god.
Goddamn.
He brought it back.
How does he do it?
How the fuck does he do it?
Prolific
Crazy.
had demolished his way through the losers bracket. and now stood in Grand Finals. Prolific versus Vash. And before they played Grand Finals, Vash made an interesting proposal. Double or nothing. The players agreed that the winner would take both players' prize money.
I did it because, win or lose, badass.
Got the fear.
And Bash with the up throw there, winning game 1.
Oh, there, huh. And down B.
Yeah.
Oh, nice! Nice trade!
I was like, a lot of people thought Bash was gonna win. A lot of people thought Bash was gonna win. I was like, Prolific is gonna win, and I know he will.
I was gonna Prolific percent. This could be stock.
Oh my god.
The great
Very
equalizer.
nice.
Yep, the equalizer.
I was super nervous, like my hands are shaking.
And Bash.
Oh!
Knuckles grab coming to effect.
Oh! Oh man. Oh, I was got that hit in there. Just to make DK recover. Back to reset. Okay? Oh! I'm telling you, fair.
If Bash loses this, he gets less than 7th place.
UC winner!
Woo!
UC winner. Close it out.
Take the tournament.
Goddamn.
Classic. Now that's the bowler's winner. Now that you think about
Prolific
it.
has won the tournament. That game was probably the game that solidified Prolific as one of the best players of all time.
And arguably the greatest player of all time, just straight up. So,
Prolific, second or first best SSF2 player of all time.
I think Prolific is one of, if not the greatest players of SSF2 in general.
With his win at Bowlers 3, Prolific cemented himself in SSF2's history as the greatest of all time. He was the Donkey Kong player to push the game to its limits and show us just how exciting it could truly be. This brings us to the modern era, with new players, new storylines, and a thriving scene that continues to grow. Whether you're an old school player or waiting for Framemakers, there's never been a better time to join the community.
I'm 50 years old, and I'll go back and I'll recall the time when I was 16, 17 years old.
Even though I stopped playing it many
Same,
years
man.
ago, like SSF2 still means a lot to me.
I hope people, whatever their purpose is, just keep enjoying the game, you know?
there are people that care about the
It's
scene
great.
a lot. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Like, as long as there's like 3 people, that's a community, right?
Yep.
From our ups to our downs, there's never been a grassroots community I've ever seen or been more proud to be a part of. We've come a long way from the school computer lab.
Toothbrush?
Sure,
Okay.
we may just be a flash game, but at the same time, we're so much more than just that.
Whew. Oh, Zen!
That's a smash attack. Don't know about the Mac combos, bro.
Oh, yeah, the Mac combo.
And at the end of the day, it'll always be more than just a flash game.
Ten out of 10, man. Of course. Obviously, 10 out of 10. I don't know what else to say. Like this documentary, I told y'all this shit was great, man. Oh, it's your boy. Yep. Man, I don't know what else to say. I told y'all this was gonna be like the greatest, one of the greatest Smash Live videos of all time. Was I not wrong? Yeah, this was insane, man. Honestly. It's crazy. like I will definitely tell my grandkids like this story one day, or any other grandkids. It can be. I'll tell the story till the end of time.
Thank you to everyone in the SSF2 community, to all the backers on Kickstarter, to anyone who got this far in the video. I really do appreciate you all. This project is far from perfect, and there's so much lore and pockets of history that were left out and didn't quite make it.
That's fine. That's
and
fine.
I'm really sorry if you were disappointed with the outcome. It's honestly a miracle
It's alright.
to even be created at all for the Flash game we love, and I'm very thankful I had the opportunity to create this. But even if it's not perfect, I'm still happy with it, and it's a cool way to preserve our history as a competitive game. It was an absolute blast to make this documentary. There were so many memories I got to relive and cool moments to see again.
Alright.
And for that, I'm really thankful. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So I just want to say one last time, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for making this documentary, man. Honestly.
Easy. Really just brain dead easy character. I can see you, Miracle. You didn't even hit him. You missed me.
You definitely did an amazing job, man. 10 out of 10, man. Show the chat, bro. Show the chat. Insane, man. Do I even need to say it? Ten out of 10. Well, honestly, like this really brought it like I don't know, like all of us together, like new and old school, new school. It's crazy. It was like you yeah, it was like a get together, or it was like it was pretty much a reunion in a way. Goddamn. So yeah, there was definitely one thing I was going to say before before we started watching. Yeah, this documentary was it was pretty much going to be like Spider-Man, No Way Home. Yeah, I left that part out specifically. So yeah, those of you who have not watched Spider-Man, No Way Home, y'all should have watched it, bro. It's been out for like about a month, right? You had all the time. But yeah, fans are once again 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 documentary. Baller, you definitely outdone yourself. Even if you say that there are like mistakes here and there, this was still a great documentary. And maybe, hey, who knows, folks? Maybe he might release an uncut version. In my opinion, in my opinion, it's too early for that. It's definitely too early for that. Even if you were to do that like a few months later, that's still too early. But you know, like that choice is up to him. So that's all I gotta say.